Hello, everybody. My name is Tanya Halleck, and I'm the president of CCI Toronto's chapter and vice president of operations at Wilson Blanchard Management, Inc. Welcome to another episode of CCI Toronto's check-in videos, a quick personal touchpoint conversation. Today, I'll be checking in with my friend, Sally Thompson. If you don't know her, she's the past president of CCI Toronto chapter and managing principal at Synergy Partners and frequent speaker offering her expertise about new condos, aging condos, reserve funding, restoration, everything in between. Hi, Sally.
Hey, Tanya, how are you?
Good. Instead of what I'm finding is these conversations, instead of talking about the weather, we're just talking about COVID and pandemics now and everything related with this fluid transitions that we're having with different recommendations and processes. One of the things I worry about is the financial security of condominiums with the shutdowns from people on a personal situation and the impact it might have on condo communities. So have you seen any changes in funding strategies where condos might be reducing contributions or struggling financially?
We haven't seen that much yet. I think that there's not that many condos that have a fiscal year end in this early stretch of the year. So they're living with their existing budget, they're collecting their existing fees, and everything seems to be going fairly smoothly. I've had a couple say they have some very high cleaning costs. Is there anything they can do? Their operating budget is kind of going well over budget. Is there anything they can do to, from the reserve perspective, to try and sort that out? Particularly one that was kind of like a hotel style condo. There's a hotel attached to some timeshare condos where they're having to shut down the hotel component, which is the shared component for the residential condos. And so they're obviously looking at how can they, what can they do to defer projects or it's kind of funny because do I defer the projects or do I accelerate the projects when I have nobody in the facility and get them done? So there's some back and forth. I do expect that we will see more condos later in the year, especially if anything continues at any length, or if business doesn't pick up where people are struggling to pay maintenance fees. And so, obviously the condo, there's no one else to get money from a condo. It's either coming from your operating budget or it's coming from your reserve fund. There's nowhere else to get money. And so if people are struggling to pay those fees or if the costs go up above the budget quite significantly, then they're going to be struggling. And so we have had a couple where, they've asked us, is there any way we can reduce they haven't actually asked to reduce their reserve contribution for this year, other than that they were already taking a big increase. So they were already planning a big increase. Is there any way we can reduce the size of the increase of the contribution to reserve this year? And then we'll make it up next year, or we'll go back up to the higher level next year, but it'll buy us a little bit of time this year. And so we've done that on a couple of studies, but I certainly wouldn't encourage people to do that unless they absolutely have to, because whatever money you don't put in reserve this year, you're going to have to make up in future years. And then if you do change that funding plan to try and offset some operating costs, you have to do that new notice of future funding to tell everybody about it, and any purchasers are going to see it. So there's some real downside to doing that. But if the condo's really stuck, they maybe can.
Right. So with that being said, if people are looking maybe not as often as we might have predicted at this time, but like you said, it's early months still until we see realize any significant impact. Are you finding any delays in projects that may have been approved during the process, sort of pre-COVID, and people just panic with the physical distancing and want to stop? Or can you tell us a little bit about what projects can go on successfully during the pandemic where social or physical distancing is an issue?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously we had the kind of stop, right? We stopped construction for a couple of months, except in the case of like kind of emergency work or safety or sanitation type work. So we had that 2.5 month delay. They reopened construction again a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not sure when they reopened construction, they were really thinking, I think they were thinking about like renovations in my house or building a new building. I'm not sure they were thinking about fixing a condo full of people working at home. And so that's a little bit of a different gig because we're suddenly bringing in contractors into the condo right when everybody is working from home. And so things are up and moving. I think it's an exercise in prioritization because obviously our summer is not that long. And so when we lose 2.5 months of the summer, we're not going to get everything done this year that was originally planned to get done this year. So obviously there's going to be some work proceed and some work not proceed. And I think my instinct so far is it's working out quite well. So in other words, if there's a condo who really is scared about having the contractor in their space doing work, chances are the contractor has another project that they can go and work on. So they're not that fussed about being put off. There may come a time when the contractors are more eager to do the work than the condos are willing to welcome them. And then we could run into some contractual battles. But so far things seem to be, you know, you don't want me in your suite and I don't want to be in your suite. So everybody's fine.
Yeah.
But that could change. I think that I'm really worried about some of the noise. You know, construction is ramping back up again. And I think that people are going to find out that you know, when you're having your team meeting on a conference call or something like this, or a video call, and suddenly there's the noise of the guy, you know, chipping out, caulking outside your window or something, you're not going to be that happy. So I think the noise could present some real problems, but we haven't seen it yet, but I anticipate it coming, where there'll be some wars between residents and contractors. So.
For sure. Yeah. I think people don't appreciate life happening around them when they're used to being away for work, if they're going to an office, as opposed to working remotely where you're at home all the time. And although you might feel trapped, now you get to hear everybody else's business. Right?
Exactly. And most of the time the work gets done while everybody's at work, right? So nobody knows the noise that it makes, but suddenly we're all going to learn about how noisy construction is.
So with that, do you foresee any kind of backlog with these projects once the restrictions are all lifted with the distancing and any other restrictions?
I think the work is going to proceed more slowly, because with physical distancing, it's fewer workers in a construction site, and with the mask and everything. Like if you've been out wearing a mask, even if you just go grocery shopping, it's like a pain, right? You know, it's not as easy to live your life. So the work is going to be slower. But that being said, every construction season in Canada, we fill up, right? So everybody goes out to tender early in the winter. When the contractors' books of business are full, we stop tendering because there's no more capacity, and anything that's left over gets pushed to next year. So really the only difference this year is we've lost 2.5 months of that construction. So there may be some projects that were tendered and awarded beforehand. Those will likely proceed. There may be some that were tendered since, you know, there's still some capacity, but it's basically once the capacity is used up, it's used up for the year. So
okay,
it'll just happen sooner.
yeah, maybe, yeah, right. Are there any new processes that as a business you'll carry over post-COVID for you or your team?
You know what, it's funny. I was one of those old fogies, you know, that said, why do I need a chat app as well as an email app? You know, I don't need to check 2 places. But I have to say we gravitated, I mean, we've always been able to work from home. So the VPN connection at home is, I might as well be at the office. It doesn't change anything technically for me, other than there's no humans in my small office here with me. But you pick up those apps like Microsoft Teams, and suddenly in a way it's almost better, right? Like when I meet with clients now, I'm able to just, instead of having to flap my hands and try desperately to describe some interface to them, I just bring up the image and show it to them, and they can all see it, and it's not, you know, we're not passing it around the table. So I'm actually finding a lot of the interactions with the clients are better. And we even have had, I did one owners meeting the other day with a condo. I think we had, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 unit owners attend. We did the whole thing by video conference, and then the board got so much feedback about how it was the best owners meeting they've ever had, because everybody's comfortable. They could have their glass of wine or whatever they want in their unit. They can hear better because there's no noise from other people. So they've had resoundingly positive feedback that that's the way to go. So I think the whole world is going to change in terms of how we interact. This screen sharing and video sharing, I think it's awesome. So.
Yeah, and the video difference of just having a conference call on the phone is everyone starts talking over each other. You can't hear anything. You don't get the participation. You can't share a screen, right, on the phone. So yeah, it certainly changes how we think about and do business, and we're all becoming Zoom experts in the middle of this too, which we didn't.
We do have problems with. It's very hard when people talk over each other if you're in a bigger meeting. So somehow we've got to figure that out. You know, sometimes you can put your hand up, you know, and then people know you want to talk or something, or you can signal in the software. But that's the only thing we got to figure out, is how to make that more graceful. And then I think they're fabulous tools. So
yeah, excellent. And what do you find yourself most grateful about?
Well, for me, it's been interesting actually, because I had my first granddaughter born February 10th, little Sadie. And so for months we didn't see her, which was really hard. We saw her for the first 4 weeks, and then we couldn't see her again. So I'm pretty grateful that we're opening up to social circles of 10 people, and I can actually spend a little bit of time with her. So yeah, so that's what I'm grateful for, is that we're reopening a little bit. But I am also, you know, when I go out in public, I'm grateful when I see people wearing masks, because I think when you look back and think we shut this province down when the numbers were very, very low. And now every day we're having more cases than we did when we shut down. So intellectually, the only way we win this thing is if everybody wears the darn mask so we don't keep spreading this thing. So I really hope that everybody keeps doing that as well, and we can avoid any giant second wave.
It's hard, especially with the weather getting nicer, like you mentioned, short summer in Ontario, that everyone wants to get out there. And we're humans, right? So we want to do the social element, but
and nobody
staying
wants
home is the responsible thing to do, right? Or staying within your distance, within your little bubbles and family circles.
If everybody was fair skinned like me, we'd be fine, because I can't ever tan anyways. Nobody wants a mask tan, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's the fashion sense part as well.
I'm good to go.
All right. Well, thanks, Sally, for your insights, and we'll wrap up another episode of CCI's Checking In series. I'm Tanya Halleck, and I'm joined by Sally Thompson, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
This is Tanya Halleck, the president of CCI Toronto. CCI Toronto can help your condo achieve social and financial success. Thank you for listening.